Okay, so welcome to this podcast from Search Laboratory. It's all about unlocking retail data to drive business growth, and something we see at Search Laboratory all the time now is it's all about the data. It has been for a while, but more and more data is becoming more important. So I'm delighted to be joined on this podcast by, from Search Laboratory, David Howlett and Anita Klinkosz, who will introduce themselves shortly, but also Raymond from Mulberry and Mark Harrison from Salonwear Direct. So if we could just, first of all, just everyone introduce themselves, and just say a little bit about what your role is, so we know the context. David, if you go first.
Sure, yeah. So I'm a data solution architect at Search Laboratory. And what that really means is that I help support our clients' data science needs by designing and implementing cloud-based solutions to essentially maximize profitable growth for our clients. Okay, thank you very much. And Anita.
Hi everyone, so I'm a digital strategist here at Search Lab, and very broadly speaking, my role is to sort of help our clients make the most out of their data, really find solutions that meet sort of certain business objectives and outline growth plans through the right sort of channel and media mix.
And how does that work with what David does then, Anita? So you put strategies together.
Correct. So as a sort of strategist, I would work with our clients to really find out who they are as a business and what the business objectives are, what they're trying to achieve, translate that into sort of wider digital strategy, and then work with David to sort of bring in his skills around sort of data science, etc.
Okay. All right. Nice one. Thank you very much. So Raymond, Mulberry, and how are you? And if you could just tell us a bit about your role.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Raymond Yao, but feel free to call me Ray. So I currently work as a senior marketing lead at Mulberry, looking after the APAC region for them. But I only joined the company about a month ago. So prior to that, I was with Strategist as their senior marketing manager for international markets for about 5 years.
Nice one.
Yeah,
okay.
Very happy to be here.
Good. Yeah, thanks, Ray. And Mark.
Yeah, so I'm the e-commerce manager at Salonwear Direct and Uniforms for Healthcare. I've only been in the job about 9 months, but understanding a lot more of the business now than I did when I first joined. That's for sure.
Excellent. Okay, so unlocking retail data to drive business growth. So I thought it'd be good if we just started with, what are the data issues, or what are the issues right now? And I think it'd be good to hear from the people at the sharp end of all of this. So maybe Mark, what are the issues that you're facing as a business, e-commerce wise, right now?
So we've got a couple of issues that we're ongoing with. I mean, one of the biggest things that we're struggling with is stock and getting the stock over to the business. I mean, lead times on our products have shot up since a few years ago before the pandemic. I mean, we used to be able to ship stuff in from 8 to 12 weeks, but now it's we're getting quoted 16 to 20 week lead times, and it's just it makes our business so much harder to handle, because you're having such a long lead time now. You're having to really adjust what you're doing internally and how much stock you're holding against kind of what we can do. And it's been a real challenge for us over the last couple of months to really understand kind of what we're doing, how we can go about getting the stock in and out. Because I mean, the lead times have gone up so much.
Interesting. Anything else?
I mean, obviously, as everyone, as everyone's been struggling with the pandemic over the last 2 years, the data that we've collected over those 2 years, it's kind of like irrelevant data, really. I mean, how much of it can you actually use from what's been collected over the last 2 years? I mean, I would say only in the last 6 months of data is kind of realistic data as to what we actually are as a business now, and where we stand in the market. The previous 2 years it's been so hard to try and forecast what we've done year on year, and what's happened over the pandemic, and trying to get back to normality and see kind of, okay, this is kind of realistic data now we can start growing, now we can start building from where we were.
Yeah, so actually just getting a picture of how you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So, and Ray, what about yourself at Mulberry? What's the challenges?
I think a really big piece that we are facing, especially in kind of with the impact of pandemic, is the piece around travel retail. I think we're definitely not seeing as many tourists coming into the UK as pre-pandemic world. So I think when you're lacking that traveling customers, especially from Asia, where there are still, most of the countries still have some travel restrictions. I think, especially in the luxury sector, missing that part of the customers is definitely a huge blow to the luxury industry. I think another piece within the kind of travel retail world is the UK government's decision to abolish tax-free shopping. So as of right now, when customers come into the UK, they can't really get tax-free or their VAT off anymore. So when that's the reality, then we are facing a lot of competition from our neighboring European countries, where customers can travel there and then do their shopping and then get their VAT off. So I think there's kind of a two-pronged challenge within the luxury sector with the travel retail part.
Yeah, and so what's the? I suppose it more falls to online is maybe the thing to take from it. Get your more reliance on the online space. Is that the way that you're thinking internally, or?
Yeah, for sure. I think the same as I'm sure many other businesses, that we are just moving and trying to accelerate our digital business. So a lot of that attention is moving away from the physical retail and into more of the digital area. So I think we are definitely trying to make sure that our customers, when they're discovering our brand digitally and then engaging with our brand and our content, and eventually, hopefully, converting with our brand, that the whole journey and each single step within that journey is as tailored and as targeted as possible. But at the same time, we don't want to come across to our customers as too intrusive. I think especially in today's world, everyone's very much aware of the mechanics of digital marketing and how it works. But at the same time, people are very much valuing their privacy and their personal data. So it's really finding that balance of still being targeted, but at the same time not coming across too intrusive and just too much for our customers.
And do you feel that that you are being too intrusive, or have you had feedback that you're being too intrusive, or is it a fear of the business?
I think it's more of a fear. We didn't really get feedback from customers thinking that we are too intrusive, but today, you can really, for example, running Klinkosz offers. I don't know if you have Amex credit card or MasterCard. The offers that you get can be very much tailored by your spending pattern and habit and where you spend and how much you spend. So I think there's a lot of data that can be utilized when it comes to running digital marketing. But whether we want to make that decision to actually utilize every single thing that we can, I think that's a question that a lot of businesses they ask themselves.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll have a think about that, and we'll come to that. And then, so from the perspective of Search Laboratory, so we have a number of retail clients. What sort of problems, what sort of issues are we seeing people grapple with right now? Maybe Anita.
Yeah, so I guess identifying the challenges of the industry when we work with our clients, identifying those challenges is definitely key to building that strong data-driven strategy. But I think it's really important to mention that on top of on top of that, some of those specific retail challenges, we have privacy changes, we have data degradation caused by that cookie demise, and all of that added a level of complexity to already what I believe is a complex topic of, attribution, measurement, and in general, making better decisions on where to invest marketing budget. So we feel like there is now even greater need to do more with less data, and gaps, those gaps in data are really leading to performance plateau. Google technology is brilliant. We've seen, machine learning is getting extremely good at targeting valuable customers, etc. But it's only as good as the data that you feed it. So it is, the challenge at the moment is feeding the machine, with the data that is, very more valuable to your business and more associated with your business growth, and really optimizing to that, business wider business value.
Yeah. Okay. And David, what are you seeing? What are you seeing challenges from retail clients?
I mean, the big overarching theme is that businesses fundamentally quite often don't really know what they're getting back for the money that they're spending. And the question is really, for every £1 I spend, how much profit am I driving? And that's profit today. How much was that transaction worth? What was in the basket? But it's also, well, what's the future profit of that customer? Was that a new or an existing customer? And attribution can play a really big part in that. But what we find is that, fundamentally, first you need to be looking at your business from a profit perspective today and in the future, and then start grappling with attribution and, well, how do I put profit against certain behavior types and things that are happening on the website? And that's really the direction that we're looking to push a lot of our clients.
So and that's an interesting one, because profit, it sounds obvious, targeting towards profit. The frightening thing I find whenever I get involved in these things is how many people do not optimize towards profit. They optimize towards revenue or indeed sales value. And I don't know, Ray and Mark, what's your experience of that? Do you look at profit and actually bid towards profit?
I mean, for myself, I mean, the last kind of 7 years I've been doing working in e-commerce, I've done my fair share of like managing Google Ads and that lot as well. And I always look at the profit figure, and I always look at kind of what we're getting back from every pound that we spend. I mean, I'm very focused on the data that we can get in from that. And the new company I'm working for now, when I first started, it was very much a case of like we were running on pure revenue. Let's get as much transaction in as possible, and they weren't really looking too much into the underlying figures and how much profit we're actually making. So what I got tasked with right away was looking at all the data, understanding how we're marketing, what we're spending, and really cutting that. So I cut the marketing budget in half, and although the revenue did drop slightly, we're actually more of a profitable business now than we were, 6, 8, 9 months ago. So moving forward from now, it means that I can now push more of the budget that we've saved into those areas, really try and improve what we're spending and get that revenue back, and we'll be even more profitable when we push forward.
Yeah, exactly right. And Ray, what's your experience of this sort of profit versus revenue targeting?
I think most of my experience has been focusing on just the revenue number, like you said. I think a lot of the times we don't even get visibility on the profit numbers within a company, but it's only during that 6 to 12 month period during the pandemic, where trading environment was really hard, that we started to have to think about profits as well, and which category might have the most profitable nature, and then how we are trying to push more through digital marketing of those products.
Yeah, see, it's to me, it's amazing that actually probably, it sounds primitive, but probably most of our clients were in that state as well. Targeting our teams on and wanting to target our teams on revenue. And like Mark said, you look at it a different way, and you look at it based on profit, and it completely changes, moves the plateau that you're on. I mean, it's this plateauing that everybody gets to. How do we? I mean, moving people off that profit target. I know that Ray, you said that the pandemic almost forced people into that, but David and Anita, how are we even moving people to start looking at profit rather than revenue?
Sure. I mean, so the first thing is getting access to essential data. So, if we get hold of your order line data, so basically every sale that's going through the business, and we understand, what are the product costs, what are your delivery costs, how do delivery costs change depending on which product has been shipped, because that can be a major impact actually delivery, which I'm sure you guys will be aware of, what the return rates that are feeding into that. We can essentially calculate the profit of every single sale that goes through the website, tie that back to individual products, so you can build a whole strategy around those products and how you should be advertising them. And what we've actually found when we've done that is that some of the biggest revenue drivers on the website are being sold unprofitably, because quite often you'll find that it's the lowest margin products with the free delivery that are being pushed the most through digital marketing. And I've seen cases where we're talking about spending millions and getting millions of pounds back, and actually the profit's negative as a result of that. And it's really dramatic when you see that ROAS, so revenue over spend, does not necessarily line very well at all with those end figures there.
Amazing that retailers are actually getting away with that and still making money. But as we've as we probably will see going forward, people will sharpen their pencil and they'll get better at this, and you will not be able to afford to do this in future. So you touched on something there, which was returns. And again, the amount of people we see not factoring in returns. Mark, do you get many returns in your line?
Yeah, so I mean, our return rate over the last couple of months has probably crept up a bit, which is disappointing. We were running at about 15% return rate, but now it's gone up to about a 20% return rate. So yeah, I mean, we focus on that figure an awful lot because we're trying to understand kind of, why customers are returning things. I mean, obviously with the way that fast fashion is these days, everyone tries to make it as easy as possible to return. So people will order numerous sizes, numerous colors, numerous styles, and then return what they don't like, and and it just makes it so much easier to return stuff now. But yeah, I mean, we're really focused on that. So when I'm doing all my data on a daily basis, I look at the revenue that comes in through the website against what we're spending on the marketing. But then I'll also have a look at what our returns rate is and see what we can do to try and kind of increase the revenue and lower the returns rate if that's possible. But I mean, as I say, with the returns being easier and easier with every company, I mean, we're looking at our returns policy now and trying to make it even easier for our customers. It's just going to make it, harder and harder. But I mean, the bonus is you get the stock back and you can resell it on. So, hopefully you'll eventually sell that product that's got returned. But yeah, I mean, we've definitely seen an increase in our returns rate for sure.
And do you look at a blended returns rate, or do you look at returns per category or per product to see where the issues are, or indeed where the profit's being eroded?
We look at it as an overall figure at the moment. We haven't, we haven't dived into the data enough to kind of segment it into that yet. But it's definitely something that we want to look into, because I'm really conscious that the returns rate is going up. Why is it going up? Is there a problem with the product? Is there a problem with our sizing or something like that? So yeah, I really want to dig into that data and understand it more.
Yeah, okay. And Ray, I know you're quite new at Mulberry, but do you know how returns are analysed at the moment?
I'm not too sure, to be honest, but I think given the nature of the products and the higher price point, I think people tend to have made the decision before placing the order. So it's not something that we pay a huge amount of attention on just yet.
Yeah. Interesting. We see all sorts of different sort of return. I mean, Anita, I don't know if you've got anything to add on returns. I know
I just wanted to add on that. Obviously, there was one thing, admitting that return rates are going up, etc., and just looking at that data. But there's also the other side of things where we need to let the machine know that there's been a change in the value of the conversion. So obviously, when a retail customer returns a purchase, that changes that value of the conversion to business. So we need to let the machine know, we need to let the algorithm know about those changes. That is actually there is some simple solutions to that. One of them, Google conversion adjustment, where you can sort of upload data to Google Ads and tell the algorithm actually count this conversion, retract that conversion because there's been a return, or reduce the value of that conversion where, for example, a retail customer bought 2 pairs of shoes to try if the size is okay, but they went for size 9, as I do, and returned size 8. That's normally too small. So we want the algorithm to know that the value of conversion have changed, and take that into consideration.
And critical when you get different return rates for different product or product categories, which is something that we see all the time, and huge swings in. I know, David, you've looked at this in certain areas, but it's huge, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we do this kind of analysis, we always do it at a SKU level. So, different colors, different sizes. And what we find is that the conversation with the business that follows is usually, oh, wow, we need to change our pricing strategy for these products. Because you'll find that maybe, it's really tempting to look at things on aggregate. So, this is the average margin for dresses overall. But it'll swing a lot, particularly depending on what kind of products you're selling. And there will be certain cases where the highest revenue drivers coming through PPC shopping, for instance, could really do with a price tweak or a change to how you're doing discounts, which is something we haven't really gotten onto yet. But discounts can have a massive impact. There's this concept, I guess, of margin and then true margin, which I kind of see true margin as what it is after discounts, after delivery, after your returns rates have come in. And you'll find that certain products have big swings there and others don't. And that's what we try and optimize towards.
Yeah. Okay. And so you've touched on pricing there, which is another thing, and what's the issues there? What are we thinking about when we're talking about pricing, David?
Sure, yeah. So I mean, the key issue is obviously that you increase your price, conversion rate assumably goes down. Not always. We have tested it where it doesn't go down. But then obviously you get more margin on top, and that's a statistical problem. It's something that can be modeled out. If you change prices, we can then say, well, with a degree of certainty, it was positive or negative. This is how much more profit you've made or lost a day as a result of that. And that's an approach to businesses, I think, particularly as we sort of go into the sort of market conditions that we're going into now, that I think they need to be hyper aware of, that they can make these changes and they can statistically model it out in a way that they can protect the business. It's definitely something you don't want to make on gut feel, which I think is what often has to happen.
And that's hard statistical modeling because if you got, say, 2,000 products on a site and you amend your prices, I don't know, 10% up across the board, or indeed even if you make 20 changes to 20 products, it's very difficult to then model it was that positive or negative, and it's you might get a few more sales, but is that statistically significant, that change? So it's quite hard stuff, this. I would imagine, Raymond, your pricing, I mean, that this will be, these fashion pricing decisions will be made entirely somewhere else, but this is the sort of thing I would imagine that they'd be thinking about. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, so pricing. Let's just have a think. And Mark mentioned lead times increasing from between 8 to 12 weeks to 16 to 20 weeks, and therefore the planning and the stock planning that needs to go into that. And again, I think we're falling back to a sort of a data modeling kind of solution. What do we need to order, and what's the cost of something being out of stock, if indeed that's what happens? How are you even approaching that right now, Mark?
So we've seen issues on stuff being out of stock. I mean, we've got some of our best sellers that have, because of the new website that was launched beginning of the year and all the new kind of additions we've added to the site, have seen a massive increase in the sales of those products. And all of a sudden, like, our planning for the year has kind of been thrown out the window because they've been so popular, and they've kind of gone. And now we're in a case of, what can we actually do to resolve this? Thankfully, we've got an in-house factory that can make some of these garments up, so we can kind of, cover some of these areas, and we can get stuff flown in on air freight from our suppliers through what we've already got ordered, due to come in like August, so we can actually cut that down to a month or so before that, so we can kind of try and cover over some of the issues that we're having. But yeah, I mean, we saw a drop in April in our sales when we noticed gaps in our stock. But now we've got a full-time stock analyst on board, and he's going through all the year's data, understanding all our customers and what they order, and because we deal with a lot of colleges, we're having to put in like kind of bulk orders for all our colleges ready for the new term, when it arises. So he's understanding all the data, the e-com and the offline sales, and really putting a plan together for everything. But obviously, as I say, with the increase in sales on the e-com side, he kind of didn't factor in that increase to begin with. So yeah, we had a bit of a downfall in April, but thankfully we've managed to bridge some of the gaps, and we're back up to normal now. But it's certainly hit us hard in April.
And you employ a stock analyst, someone who is looking at this stuff. And does that person decide what to order?
Yeah, basically, yeah. He looks at the data throughout the entirety of the business, all the stock that we hold, and our suppliers hold as well. Understand all the orders that we've got coming in and the planning in place. And yeah, he's got spreadsheets galore that deal with all the data, and he's really invested in it, and he's fantastic at planning it and organizing what needs to come in and when and all that lot. So a few months down the line, we shouldn't ever have the issue we've had in April. But yeah, before then, it was kind of a bit of a scary situation.
Wow. I know, David, you did some work with stock levels. What would just fill us in what that was and how that worked?
Yeah, absolutely. So the key thing that we look to do when we're modeling out stock data is we bring online behaviors in. So we obviously, within GA, you understand product behavior at a SKU level, which now means that actually you can say, well, this is how many people are looking at that product, but do we even have it in stock? And what we do is we join daily stock level data to GA behaviors and GA sales and all the rest of it. And we can model out, this product's going to go out of stock on that day. This is how much money you could potentially be losing if it goes out of stock on that day per day. And you can also see things like, this is how many impressions that product's getting right now. So you get a real sense of understanding, well, what is the behavior of my website doing, and how much of that is hitting products that are not in stock to begin with. It sounds like you guys are making really big headways on that anyway. It's definitely something I've seen actually a lot of business are struggling with, and they don't quite have that sophistication behind that, and that's really where we look to support them.
Yeah, I mean, we went into a big thing on when we realized the gaps, and we, I took all the data from analytics from last kind of 9 months of sales data on all our products at SKU level, and matched it up with what we've currently got in stock, what we've got on order, and tried to figure out, okay, will we sell that? How much do we sell on a monthly basis? When are we likely to run out of some of this stuff? And what do we need to bring in quickly to try and bridge these gaps and make sure that we don't have any downfall at any point?
What do you Ray, stock levels? Do you have the issue?
Probably not quite the same issue. I think within marketing, we do quite a lot of brand marketing and then influencer marketing as well. And I think just the nature of those kind of approaches tend to not really influence the stock level as the same way that some of the digital marketing like PPC, Google advertisement works. So we don't really quite kind of have the same stock issue.
Yeah. Okay. So lifetime value, which I'm going to wrap up with the stalking thing that you mentioned, Ray, which is, look, we want to maximize lifetime value out of our customers, but where's the line between, well, first of all, how do we maximize lifetime value, but how do we do it in a way that isn't sort of somehow crossing the creepy line, if you like. So maximizing lifetime value, Anita, what have we got at our disposal to maximize lifetime value?
Yeah, I think it differs from business to business. Obviously, yes, we want to make sure that we incentivize our customers. Once a consumer becomes your customers, we want to make sure that we incentivize them to repurchase. But we do need to admit that not all conversions are of equal value to your business, and that your one-time sort of gift buyer will have a different lifetime value to someone who purchases regularly from you throughout the year. And through that first party data, so through your customer data, you can identify customers with a sort of higher potential value to your business and optimize your bidding strategy accordingly. So we want to move away from looking at sort of last click attribution and only looking at that immediate revenue and incorporating that lifetime value into the view. That will then allow us to sort of redefine ROAS targets to align against your growth, and try to go after customers who are more valuable to your business because the lifetime value is higher.
And how do you recognize the difference between let's say a one-time gift buyer and a high lifetime value buyer? Is it the product they've bought? Is it the path that they took, or
yeah, there is multiple multiple journeys that those customers make. So you would look for any hints in your sort of CRM data. You would see at how many times a year a particular person have purchased. Are they purchasing products of a higher or lower value, etc. But I'm sure Dave has also done quite a lot of analysis, CRM analysis around sort of identifying those high lifetime value customers.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the key thing here really is predicting the value of a customer with the data you've got available to you. It's sort of easy to find the person who's been buying for you from 5 years, but what we aim to do is predictive modeling, where we say, well, of the millions of journeys that we've had on the website over the last few years, or even online, offline, we're not limited to digital here. We say, well, actually, here's 10,000 people that look really similar, and this is their current value, and this is what they're expected to look like, so that when you have a sale come through, whether or not it's the website, phone, or whatever it is, you can say, well, actually, the predicted lifetime value of that person is £300, or maybe actually it's only £60, or maybe it's not even a sale. Maybe it's someone who's had this journey on the website but not purchased yet. On average, is worth £4. That's kind of the level of granularity that we get to when we're looking at these things. And what we find actually is a lot of businesses have this concept of, this is how many new customers we need to drive this year, and it's part of their business plan, but it's not being shared with the digital marketing teams at all, who are still stuck on that revenue. And that's really where we unlock that getting us off that plateau and say, actually, yeah, we could spend an extra 30% this year, or maybe we should be spending less, or flipping which products that you're going after based on the average lifetime value of a particular product, those sorts of things.
So it's essentially, we have some high lifetime value customers in the CRM and on analytics that looked like this, or indeed had behaviors like this. How do we get more of those, or how do we attract more of those? But also, how do we recognize them when they're at the start of that could be a high lifetime value journey.
And how do you get that data to your marketing team? Because you can have someone sat in a corner somewhere working this all out, but you need to be feeding that into GA, into your platform, so that when they're bidding, they're optimizing towards a predicted lifetime value based on all this model data.
Yeah. Okay. So we recognize someone who, they're coming in and Ray's, got this person who's just hit their website and they're high worth, and we think that they might be a good customer for us. And I suppose in our world we stalk them to death now, don't we? We batter them with ads, and we don't worry about it, and we let Apple and the cookie loss do its thing to sort of police that. How do we not cross that line, I suppose? And what's the fear, Ray, that we irritate people and devalue the brand?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the biggest fear, even for myself, when I open my inbox, and then when I see advertisement email saying that, oh, did you forget this item, or oh, you have come to our website, how about a 10% discount code? I think when I see those emails, rather than having more affinity to the brand, there's kind of that ickiness that I feel. So I think it's just considering the customer's perspective and then making decisions as a business, and then what's the most appropriate thing to advertise to our potential customers.
Yes, and I suppose as well, I suppose if the data does its work, we will recognize that those people that do turn into high lifetime value customers either like or dislike those touch points that you're talking about. They either like them. The danger is that we think we have a high lifetime value person and we do something different to batter them. Do you know what I mean? We think differently about them. So yeah, I don't know on this particular one. I suppose, do we just let our teams do the appropriate thing? Anita and David, I don't know.
I think it's really important to sort of use qualitative data and try to understand your customers, in terms of their sort of sentiment and needs, and incorporate that into your overall marketing strategy. What we also do, we sort of put technology and measurement in place that would allow us to sort of string users together, both across sort of online, offline touchpoints, etc. And once we have the deduped view of a user in a single environment, for example, BigQuery, we can then segment those users based on where they are in a journey and make much better decisions in terms of how do we engage with them, and we can much better tailor our message to depending on where they are in that user journey. So yeah, proper segmentation, making sure that we understand what the sentiments and needs of our customers are and where they currently are in that user journey is extremely important to then be able to serve the right ad at the right time.
Just to add on that as well, this is where sort of estimated value modeling really kicks off, which is really sort of, in my opinion, a much more robust way of attribution modeling, I guess, because what happens is when you're valuing every single touch point and you sending an email saying, hey, this was left in your basket is a touch point, you will see very quickly whether or not that touch point's having a positive or negative impact, because it won't get a lot of value attributed to it when you're building those estimated value models. And that will naturally fall out when you're then doing the analysis of data, and you can say, oh, wait a minute, actually, we don't want to do this touch point anymore. Obviously, I'm going to say as a mathematician, for me, it's all about that testing as well. You can split your customers into two audiences, right? Who gets it, who doesn't, and is the end result stronger or not? Is ultimately the way to go.
And that estimated value modeling is indeed it's almost A/B testing on steroids, isn't it? Because it's looking at everybody that's either had touch points, not had touch points, and seen paths through the website and optimizing to lifetime value. It's not even optimizing to order or profit on a single item. That's really the utopia in the whole thing. I think that actually brings us to a really good summary, which is, we've talked about stock issues, we've talked about margin, and the fact that some people optimize the margin, some don't. Lifetime value, pricing, stalking, to stalk or not to stalk, all of that stuff. The answer that we sort of come to on all of those things is the data. The data will tell you, but I suppose the thing to get right in the first place is make sure we're tracking it properly. And I mean, that's the fundamental in all of this. Make sure that our analytics is on point. We're not losing cookies when we don't need to, and that's a whole new topic. That's a whole different topic which we won't go into today. But then we know how to do our numbers, and that's the hard thing. And with what we have at our disposal, which is, data warehousing and machine learning and estimated value modeling and automated bidding, as Anita said, is feeding the machine. All of these are answerable in numbers. Even the lead times going up from 8 weeks to 20 weeks. There's an answer in the numbers. It might not be perfect, but it's the best answer given the numbers that we have at any one time. I think we're out of time, and we're finishing on the numbers. So thank you to Mark, Ray, Anita and David, and you can go to our website. We've got searchlaboratory.com. We've got a load of downloads on this very topic and some of the topics that we've touched on today. But just to say thanks for listening, and thanks to the guests,
and see you next time.